cool that is? Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. So I have a lot of outside garden stuff to do today. It may be too much to do today, but we're in the time of year where we're sort of battling the rain. We need to be watching the forecast. A lot of garden stuff can't happen when it's raining and storming outside. So we are going to be going outside and doing those things, but I have a freeze dryer to unload. It's actually been quite a long time since I started the freeze dryer and ran a cycle with it. This is full of over 100 eggs because we've been getting lots and lots of eggs. We've been using them, we've been eating them. And I have preserved some. I have made some freezer quiche, and that's awesome. But one of the best ways that we find to preserve eggs for winter use that's a lot more versatile is freeze drying them. So the freeze dryer is done. You can see the condensation on the outside. See that? Isn't that so cool? Let me get you in better light. See how cool that is? Freeze-dried eggs. This is about 24 of them. I actually still have a bunch of eggs that I freeze-dried last year that we really didn't get a chance to use. We had a lot of new hens last year, and a lot of times first-year hens will lay through winter, and that's been our experience. But they will have about a 2-month break this coming winter, so we're gonna prepare for that as best we can. And I also plan to send some of these to my mom. It's a fun way to get to share something that I can't normally send through the mail. We can do it when they're freeze-dried. I'm trying to fit about a dozen per one of these little bags. We'll see. We'll see if I can shove a dozen in there, or a dozen's worth. So when it comes to rehydrating these eggs, the general rule is 2 tablespoons of powdered egg to 2 tablespoons of water, and that equals 1 egg.
Basically, your dad's gonna feel like it's an episode of Game of Thrones. Like that. Okay.
There we go. There's a dozen eggs in these little bags, and that's pretty cool. Have you guys heard anything about a potato conspiracy? So from a creator perspective, I know that potato videos, for whatever reason, they tend to do really well. Ever since I started doing YouTube, if I posted something about potatoes, that video automatically got more views. And I wonder, is it because there's so much conflicting information on growing potatoes? We have a member, his screen name is Tater. He goes by Tater. You'll see him in the comment section down below. He notified me that there are very differing opinions on whether or not there are determinate or indeterminate types of potatoes, and there's actually a debate on how to grow them, which I wasn't aware of. So I do watch several different creators very religiously, like Jess at Roots from Refuge Farm. I know that she uses like the root stout method of growing potatoes, which is you essentially surface sow them and then pile on the straw and mulch as the greenery starts to peek up above the surface. And in theory, the potatoes should produce more well within that mound that you make. And I just watched a video this morning of a creator that I also highly respect. His name is Luke. He has a channel, Mi Gardener, and he was basically saying anybody that tells you that that works is telling you a lie, essentially. He is very blunt in the way that he speaks, and I was very surprised. So he will put his potatoes about 8 or so inches into the ground, and then he leaves them there. He does not pile mulch on top of them and expect more potatoes. So I would love to hear what your stance is on this. I have grown potatoes in the past. I have just put them essentially like Luke does from Mi Gardener. I've just put them into the ground and whatever I could get. And I prefer the little baby potatoes, so I tend to dig mine a little bit early. But what I'm planning to do this year is actually grow some out to like big maturity so we can store them, because I bought a lot of potatoes this winter, and if I don't have to buy them, awesome. But mainly I have this raised bed that a lovely friend sent me, and I would like to fill it really without having to buy too much input. So we have dairy goats here on our farm, and there's a lot of refuse hay. And I know that a lot of people will use straw to grow potatoes, and I said, well, why not use hay? So that's what we're gonna do this year. Right or wrong, we're gonna try it, and even if it fails, I will have gotten some organic matter in this bed, and that's a win.
So I've got the bed put together. It is right next to our raised bed garden, and I've put the packaging material from it underneath. I have some soil. We're gonna start putting down soil first. I've been told that your potatoes have better flavor if they are rooted in soil, at least on the bottom.
am having a little bit of loose soil coming out the bottom here. When I have put up these beds in the past, I have layered weed fabric down inside to where it comes up on the side of the bed to help mitigate that issue. I thought this area was pretty flat, but I was wrong. Hopefully we don't lose more than just a little bit of soil throughout the season. One of the things that I did learn through Luke's talk this morning on potatoes, I'll link that in the description box if you want to check that out. He said that potatoes really enjoy a higher acid type of soil. And I happen to know by testing this particular soil in the not too distant future that it is pretty alkaline. So I have this soil acidifier. It is sulfur based. I'm gonna sprinkle this down. 1 tablespoon for each 4 inches of pot diameter. We're gonna eyeball it. This is probably not expressly necessary given that I just put in brand new soil in the bed. I am going to sprinkle down a little bit of Trifecta Plus, which honestly it looks like it has some of these, it looks like it has some sulfur granules in it already. See, we've got some of these sulfur little bits here. They're like yellow. And I think I see some of that in here too. See that? We'll sprinkle a little of this in here too for good measure. So yes, I am going to use a bag of potatoes from the grocery store. We have done this in the past with success, planted grocery store potatoes. They say that a lot of times potatoes from the store are sprayed with like an anti-sprouting agent. These potatoes, every once in a while at our local store, they'll take the ones that have sprouted and they'll put them in a box and sell them for cheaper. So these guys, I know at least eventually they sprout. I think there's some sort of russet potato, which if you are of the camp of determinate or indeterminate potatoes, these are indeterminate, I think. In any case, they should fill up about 12 inches of space in this bed, which is perfect. This is only a 17-inch high bed. And I am just gonna put them every 10 inches whole, just like this. I think I may kind of wiggle them down, cover them up like that. Did I put one there? I better not cover them until I have them all in so I know where I put them.
They're under the soil.
We are now next to the hay shed, which every time we've gotten a new batch of hay, we're almost done feeding hay now, thank goodness. But we've had to clean out the hay shed so it doesn't build up on the floor here and start to grow mold. That's very bad for our goats.
So I've got a little pile here that I've been picking from. This is what I'm going to take to pile on top of our potatoes.
I'm not going to need very much, just a few inches. And in theory, when the green comes up above the hay, I'll pile on more hay, and according to one camp, we should get more potatoes. I don't know.
Feels like it probably needs to be tightened up,
Okay.
but I don't actually know.
Yes, we will allow ourselves a detour, a goat intermission. Yes, we will. I don't have snacks. I've been bringing them animal crackers. Oh, Elsa, how are you doing, ma'am? She's like the Clydesdale of the group, huh? She's massive. It's insane. There's a little baby. Are you hot, ma'am? Yeah, it was 85 degrees today. I'm coming. We got distracted.
This tiller was just recently given to us. It had some problems and it didn't cost that much for Levi to fix. We do know that the front tine tillers, or the tillers that have the teeth ahead of the wheels, are not necessarily the best to work with. And I think I'm seeing why. And also maybe it's not ideal to try to till up greenery, but that's what we're doing. this particular area that we're in right now had pigs in it for about a year, probably. And then we butchered the pigs, put a few goats in here. And so the idea with this space is to have a pig pen every other year and a garden in the years in between, and just sort of alternate and rotate and use the pigs to really bring back nutrients and good things to the soil that the garden takes out. This year I think we're gonna grow some sweet corn. Maybe in future years we'll do some cereal corn or the like dent corn where you can make like ground cornmeal and stuff. But I also want to grow some Dutch fork pie pumpkins in here as well. And for that, I am gonna lay down some weed fabric just to get them started out.
Right next to it, corn has to grow really close together.
Last pass didn't do nothing. I was just experimenting to see what happens if you just control it slowly walking forward.
Instead of trying to push it into the
backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards.
Doesn't do as much, does it? Because this is the 4th row here, and then the 3 rows there.
I am positive that it is easier to till up an area that the grass has already been killed off in. That's just not the situation that we have, and it's not really the plan that we have for the future for this space. So I'm hoping that this works out okay. Right now, the rows are still looking pretty green, and that's because this stuff was just now dug up. Maybe tomorrow it'll look a little bit different. Good morning. It is the next day, and I am trying to keep on top of my sourdoughs. Usually I have a sourdough season, and that starts at the end of gardening season and goes until the start of gardening season, because there's a lot of hands-on work outside of the home during gardening season. Plus, usually our house gets too hot to really maintain a sourdough super well. It just proofs way too fast, but we're not at that point quite yet. However, I do have a goal to try and maintain my sourdough through the summer. I know that you can refrigerate the dough to proof it slower, so we'll see. But for now, I'm keeping up with it. Really, the hands-on time with the sourdough sandwich bread that we make is very, very minimal. For me, it's staying on top of feeding the sourdough. So I just need to stay disciplined with that and make a routine with it, or keep a routine with it. Right now, my sourdough is only being fed about every other day, which means it's good and sour, which we like, but it does come with some risk that it might start to grow something weird. So far, so good. Wait, do I have goats out?
I have goats out. Come here. Goats out. Apparently some of them are more adventurous than others.
I had mentioned in a past video that they're working on the electric poles in on our street, and they needed access to our pond pasture, and I closed the goats off from it, but apparently I closed 2 goats out of this pasture.
Hey, do you need to come back? Oh my gosh. So it would be Clover. She's very like a lone goat. She will go by herself. I need you girls back here. Hang on, they might come in. Come on.
Everyone else might.
I know, you hold this gate.
Right.
Hold the gates. You too, Breezy. At least it's, oh, open it, open it.
I'm trying.
There we go.
Okay.
Maybe I should have counted them before I closed the gate, huh?
Good idea.
I don't even know how many I have.
Why do you keep eating
Thank
my
you,
fingers?
guys.
Welcome. This goat here keeps eating my fingers.
So even though Clover, so it was Clover and Breezy that got out, or were out, they didn't get out. They were out like in the pond pasture and I didn't even see them. So they must have been pretty far that way, which is good. That's where all the nice grass is. I really would love to stop feeding hay soon.
I had the big kids helping me with the big goats. Little kids helping with the little goats over here.
He finishes it all the
Wow.
It's all good.
As I mentioned, we want to grow some sweet corn in here, and I am going to succession plant it. So I'll plant some, and then 2 weeks later I'll plant some more, just so the harvest comes in at more of a trickle, because this is not the only thing that I'll be harvesting when that's ready, and I'll have a lot to preserve. It really is best to make sure the grass is killed off one way or another before you till an area. A lot of people will lay down tarps over the winter so that the grass will stay down. I was trying to keep some goats in here, add a little bit of more manure and nutrition to this space, but we're dealing with a lot of grass. The pigs that we had in here were coonies, and they don't do a lot of rooting, so it has stayed like a lawn in here. Somewhere I have a 6-foot wide roll of weed fabric. If I can locate that, I am gonna lay that down over this spot that we disturbed for at least a couple weeks. So I'll be a little bit later planting the corn than I had initially wanted, but I think it'll be for the better. And we have a long enough growing season where we can get away with it. So yeah, was this done backwards? Yes. Will it still probably work? Probably.
I bought this big old box of landscape staples a couple of years ago. I think there was 1,000 in here, and I knew that this was too many staples for the project that I originally bought them for, and I knew that this was way too much weed fabric for the project that I originally bought that for.
But a good piece of advice that I have is, if you do have the extra funds to get the bigger version of something, do it. There's usually a place for it somewhere on the homestead, if not that year, in a couple years. So I didn't have to buy anything new to kind of fix the mess we made. And usually stuff is ultimately cheaper, like per piece or per square or linear foot when you buy it that way. Looks like I need to go out to the freezer for some more butter. This'll work for now. So things are moving a little bit slower than we usually do them as far as the garden goes. That is okay. Some seasons are just like this. I do have a lot growing in our raised bed garden, and I'm not gonna have a garden update for you this week, but I will have one next week. This week we're experiencing kind of a lot of crappy weather after today, and I also have a lot of meat to put away. So that'll be the next video. I'll see you guys there.